Coach, happy to have you back here in the continental U.S., I guess. What was that trip like? Not just the basketball, but the trip like being there and the weather and what all you guys get to do, and tell me about it.
It was tough getting off that plane yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you're in the Caribbean, the weather's beautiful and you can see the bottom, of the ocean when you're in the water. It's a great trip for our kids who've never been to a tropical place. So our guys, we had a great time at the resort, great time playing. We felt we got better, so that made the trip even that more monumental for our kids.
The basketball part of it, of course, everyone knows at this point you guys won the tournament, took care of Missouri in the final, of course, which I think was the game everyone was looking forward to. I'll probably start with that. I know you guys are one day at a time and take things one thing at a time, but was there any desire to play Mizzou in that tournament or excitement about that possible matchup?
Well, we wanted to, obviously win, the first one.
Yeah.
That's really our focus, and obviously you want to play a team who's in a power, conference. So, and we just felt Missouri was the best school on the opposite side of the bracket as us. So, having a chance to play them with some kids from that area, made the game even mean that much more. But none of our kids really understood the Big 8, Big 12 affiliation that they used to have, and how big of a deal that game was for our fan base before we played it.
Right. You guys, of course, before heading to the Virgin Islands, won both your games, but struggled some offensively. And then in that tournament, of course, ups and downs, but a much better effort offensively. Were you pretty happy to see things kind of come together on that end of the floor? Yeah,
we knew we could shoot the basketball, so some of the stuff was self-inflicted on us, offensively. But we guarded at such a high clip before we got there that we knew we were going to continue to do that, and that's part of our DNA. But we just felt we were coming up short offensively. We weren't making shots, and I think our frustration boiled over into that. And then we just told our guys we need to get out of town,
right?
And just go play and hoop and just have fun, and that's what they did. And then the shot starts going in.
You referenced the defense. Of course, we were fortunate to have Bruce with us a few weeks ago, and he talked about just how vital you are to that side of the ball. So even while shots weren't being made, the defense did never fall off. How proud have you been of their defense over the first 5 or so games?
Well, we've got tremendous guys on that side of the ball, with Barry, and then you have Xavier. Those guys just steal the ball from people, and then you have Mac. Mac is kind of, he just snuffs people out. He's the hitman. He does such a good job of taking his guy out. Especially a big guy who can score. So it was good to see. He played really well down there. It doesn't always show up in the point side of it.
Sure.
But he did everything else we needed him to do to win.
As far as winning that tournament in general, you guys have talked a lot about at least wanting to win a championship, and I know people will look at it and say it's it's just an early season tournament. But was that important to get through a bracket, to win it, and show your kids what it's like to win one of those?
Yeah, it's good to do 3 and 4 days to see where you are physically, to see where you are fitness level wise. Mentally, can you change your mindset after a big win and get on to the next and keep that same level of focus? And we did, and we were really cut in for that last game against Missouri, understanding what was at stake, wanting to play well, more importantly than anything. And then after that, to be able to tell our seniors, let those guys hold that plaque and that trophy. It was important to them because they, as freshmen, we thought we were going to, with 4 minutes ago, we thought we were beating North Carolina. The next year as sophomores, we thought we're beating Maryland, and then it doesn't happen. And then when you see them as seniors and the poise and how much older and how they responded to when Missouri tied it up 27 all in the first half and then going on a 13-0 run, based on the older guys, that's impressive.
You mentioned the seniors, and of course we'll talk about Barry and Dean and of course what they did. But I think Cam Stokes is an interesting figure because he missed much time and then he came back not totally healthy and struggled. And I think people have gotten, to be honest, a little hard on him. How did he play in that tournament? Because he, to me, didn't turn it over much, shot it pretty well. How's he come along this year?
Well, I mean, he's you want your seniors to be steady. Not everybody can be dynamic and be the best guy, but when your seniors act like they're seniors and they're steady and they have great attitudes and they provide the right leadership, then special things can happen for your team.
I think Bruce made a comment, and I don't want to misquote him, but something along the lines that maybe he felt like he was a little too impatient with this team and expected too much too fast. I guess, one, is that right? And then is that a natural thing that happens when you bring everyone back off a team that was so successful?
Well, I think number one is you have a number by your name early, and it's a different deal. It's not only our approach; it's the approach of our opponents.
Yep.
That changes. If they're just going to unranked Kansas State who's picked 8th, they're like, they're not very good.
Right.
Now it's ranked Kansas State, higher, top tier team in the Big 12. Now you're going to get everybody's best shot that you play. It's not us giving, it's not, vice versa, where we're trying to hunt people. Now we're the hunted, and I think some of that has a lot to do with our approach and a lot to do with how we've shot the ball.
Yeah.
More panicked and less stressed and less relaxed, like we did when we got actually down the Virgin Islands. We played like we anticipated offensively to play.
Is that something that you guys tried to express to them about, the idea of the hunter versus the hunted, and maybe it's just one of those things that you don't believe until you experience it and realize it is going to be tougher when they're getting gunned for every night like that?
Well, we understand as coaches because you've been there. You do this long enough. You have good teams, and they've never been there since they've been here. Those in their 4th year, they're finally, considered an upper echelon team, and now. We can't get caught up in that, and that's what we've fought and really try to stress with them is don't get caught up with the hype.
Right.
It's okay for your head coach to say, hey, we're good, but we can't get caught up in that. We got to continue to prove that and get better with each game.
Austin Trice is a guy we're always fascinated to ask about because he's a newer guy. He's had some great performances, good performances rebounding, but he's playing behind a great defender in Max. So I guess I'm just asking how he's come along so far in your impression and how he's doing for you guys.
Well, obviously he's a high-end rebounder.
Yeah.
And he's very athletic, and he's got a lot of enthusiasm and emotion that we like. But he's coming along fine, and that's the key. As long as he can continue to develop and learn what we do, his talent will take over sometimes in games. He's going to do some special stuff, but right now he's a first semester junior college player.
Right.
And he's still trying to find his way.
This is not a serious question, but is it important for the crowd to get a big cheer for him before free throws? He seems to do better in that scenario.
I don't know. We got to do something because that thing, we don't know where it's going to land, go. Or it's going to be all backboard, air ball, hit the rim in the center, right or left, because he's basically done all of them. And a lot of it is nerves with him.
Right.
And obviously, Coach Weber's the only one working with him now, so, just hearing one voice and one person talk to you sometimes when you're really bad at something helps, as opposed to everybody giving input and telling you what you should be doing and how you should do it. So I think he'll make improvement on the line as he progresses.
And then another new guy who, as you've done a good job of explaining to the fans, is behind because when he got here is Sean Neal Williams. But he's been on the floor a decent amount so far, and where's he at in his development?
Well, he's talented. I mean, there's no question that he comes on the floor and is not scared. I mean, not scared to make a play, not scared to shoot it, not scared to go to the rim. He comes right in, he gets stuff done, and he's not afraid. He comes right in and gets 4. And it's just like, dang, we probably should have played him a little bit more. And he comes in against Missouri, and they just try to foul him. Hoping he just makes both, and they try to do it again. And and it's one of those situations where he's really behind really good players.
Yeah.
And debating whether you should redshirt him or not. Yeah, but there's going to be some games where he's going to really help us win, and we know that moving forward because he's such a talented player. That when he gets his chance, something good happens.
We've talked a lot about, of course, Cam and then the new guys, and it's easy sometimes for me to skip over Dean and Barry just because they're so good consistently. But in that title game, Dean gives you 21, I think, on 8 of 10 shooting, 4 or 5 from 3. Barry, I think 19, 6, and 6. So when it got to the championship game, it was those two guys who really put it together.
Well, I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. When you look and you see who's in double figures, those are the guys on our team who we expect to be there and consistently do that. Obviously, Cardi's going to be a guy who's going to be, in double figures right around there all the time. He was kind of hack-a-Cardi down there. He was just fouling.
He sure was.
He was in foul trouble every game, and we couldn't keep him on the floor. That was kind of disappointing that we really wanted him to play and be on the floor a lot more, but fouls limited him. And him getting used to coming in and out of the game off the bench, I think it's been hard for him to deal with. But down there, it was great because we saw him get back to normal.
Yeah.
Him get back to being that freewheeling player that he's capable of being.
I do want to talk about the kids you signed here in just a second, but one more question would be about Xavier Sneed, who missed the first game and played the last 4, and the offense, of course, has been better with him on the floor. He's a good shooter, but how has he come along, since, and I know the injury wasn't serious, but missing a game and then getting back into it?
Well, I mean, obviously when he sprained his ankle the day before, so, he wasn't even available to play. But, he's a good player. I mean, and when you look at our team, he's third. What I mean? It's and that's a good thing when you can say your third best player probably is really good and doesn't get a lot of respect, but everybody's scared of him.
Right.
And that's kind of what he is. When he plays well, it makes us really hard to beat because we know we're going to get with Barry. We know we're going to get with Dean. When he explodes, it makes us a tough out against anybody.
Like I said, I do want to ask about, we had signing day last week. You guys signed 4 kids. I just want to kind of walk through them one by one. The first I'd ask about is Montavious Murphy. I think was the first kid to commit to this class back in the summer. Rivals has him as a high 3-star. I think ESPN has him as a 4-star kid. Just talk about him as a player to the fans who haven't watched him yet or don't know what they're getting in Montavious Murphy.
Well, he's 6'9", and he's a hybrid. He can really handle the ball. He can defend. He's tough. He rebounds. Tremendous kid. Great parent. He's one of those kids that when you're checking boxes like student, athlete, person, he checks those boxes, and that's why you're excited because a guy like that does well with Coach Weber. He just does well because he is very talented, and he's one of those dudes where his AAU team was so good that he was like, oh, okay, he's on there too. And now he's with his team, and he's like putting up crazy numbers, and you're like, oh, okay. That's what those guys were looking at. So he's one of those guys, future guys, where you're like, okay, he's going to be a mainstay for those guys just because of what he can do offensively and defensively.
You mentioned him being a bit of a hybrid, and I know you'll get him in and you'll find out where he fits best. But at that size, at 6'9", is he really somebody who could have a chance to help out at the wing at all or play that position?
You know what? We let Dean do whatever. He posts up, he brings it up. If you can handle the ball, Coach Weber will let you do a little bit of everything. So. Whether it's the wing, whether it's the trail, whether it's bringing it up, I think he's going to have an opportunity to do that.
The other, bigger guy you signed was Antonio Gordon, another 3-star kid, I think 6'8", out of Oklahoma, was committed to Tulsa at one point. The clips I've seen, I saw a shot where he confidently pulled up from 25 feet without thinking and knocked it down. Is that his biggest strength right now, is shooting the basketball?
Now scoring. He's a scorer. He can really score the ball, and his motor's crazy. He's a kid who he's always running around. He's he's kind of a nuisance to other people because he's always moving and he plays hard and he's always talking. And with his high school teams, he shoots a lot. But they need him to do that to win. And he's talented, long, scrappy. He's a kid who's going to score points because that's what he does. He's a guy you're going to look up and you're like, he only played 5 minutes and had 10 points. When he'll check in and get a whole lot done in a very small amount of time just because of his activity.
The newest and latest name you guys, at least to our knowledge, added was Good News Capagel, who of course will make comments about his name for 4 years or 5 years now. But a bigger guard, who I know had a lot of interest from a lot of programs kind of late and became a big name in that process. How did that work out with him, and then what kind of player is he?
Well, obviously, as good as Xavier is, and thinking for the future, we got to get a big wing. We got to get a big guard, a guy that can do stuff on both sides of the ball with great size, and he's taller than Xavier. So, we got us a good player with length, athleticism, can score, and again, when you talk about checking boxes and person and family and player, student. He checks all of them, so we're excited about him.
And then, last but not least would be DeJuan Gordon. At least from Rivals' perspective, he was the highest-rated kid, a top 150 guy. A lot of offers, a lot of interest. 6'3", but you know better than me. But is he's not? I think people look at that size and think, oh, probably point guard or whatever. But he's really more of a 2 or a 3 wing type, isn't he?
He's a guard.
Yeah.
He's like you don't want to compare him to anybody, but he can handle the ball. And what is Barry
right?
Barry has the ball more than he doesn't. So is Barry a winner? You don't know what he is. He's just a guard, and that's how basketball used to be. 2 guards, a small forward, a power forward. He is a guard. He can handle it. He can defend. He's got good savvy. He's got great basketball instincts as a player. He's very wiry, strong, and he competes at a high level. So, him, continuing to want to get guards that can handle it and not just be one thing. he is definitely, in that mode where we got another guy who's a ball handler, playmaker, and a scorer at the same time.
I'd ask you, just how, in your opinion, how you think fans of your program should look at this class. Of course, you had a number of high national whatever recruits who had a lot of interest in you guys, and then, of course, you end up signing a bunch of high 3-star kids, low 4-star. I know you guys feel good about it, but to the fans who wanted to see, I won't say their names, but bigger names in the class, like what would you tell them about the group you signed and how to feel about this class?
Well, I think we don't care, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to our fan base,
right.
but we recruit guys that we know can play for us. Yeah, we wanted those guys too, but some of it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so we got guys that want to put that purple and white on. And when you get guys like that who are good players, then that's the excitement. And you just got to trust us, because nobody loved Barry Dean or Cam, and now it's a different deal. Barry and Dean got a chance to be all-time greats here.
Yep.
And it didn't have anything to do with where they were ranked. It happened to do with who we saw they could be in our uniform. Yep. And that's the same thing with these guys. We really are excited about this group because we know that we just turned over another class.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. When you turn a class, it's got to be some guys coming in behind. Not saying they have to be comparable talent, right, and future talent. Because sometimes guys come in really talented and their whole career goes unmet, but that talent doesn't get to where it needs to get as far as potential. And these are substance guys and guys we can coach and coach them hard, and those are the kind of guys that we got to get at Kansas State.
Well, Coach, I sure appreciate it. I know you just got back, so thanks for the time, and hopefully get back here again in a week or so and talk to you again.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.